Hey guys, welcome back. I'm for Towers Films.
Doug 218. Welcome back.
Welcome back, and welcome back to you. We are recapping Survivor Island of the Idols, episode number 8.
We made it to the merge.
It was a 2-hour special, and at first we are kind of like, it's a little early for them to be doubling up, but you soon see why once you get into the episode. It's a bit of it covered a controversial topic.
Oh yeah,
which is kind of a hot button right now.
Oh, and you know what? God bless CBS and Jeff Probst and Survivor for taking this on head on. But we're going to get into that.
We'll get into that when it gets to the point. So, I guess it was kind of another blindside last week.
Well, Jack became the victim of Kelly's kind of master plan. She's the one they all need to watch. Because this girl's slick,
Yeah.
Yeah. She is seriously slick. And if you're not careful, she's gonna get pretty far in and you ain't gonna be able to get her out.
Yep. Pretty much.
And Jamal's feeling bad because he had an idol. If he
gave it to Nora.
Yeah.
Instead.
Because
he thought that's who they were targeting. So that's what it sounded like they were going to target was Nora. But no, that's not what happened.
And so you can kind of see, he's realizing where he's sitting in the pecking order of this. And so
not as high up as he thought.
And so he started so he did his bit like everyone else who's gotten blindsided or left out of the whole vote. Who was the vote? Who was the other vote? Blah 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 blah. And Nora went, it was her. It was Kelly.
Well, she admitted she voted, but Jamal wanted to know where she got the idea to vote for Jack. And right, Kelly's sitting right there. It was Kelly. She basically outed her, right?
She dropped dime on this girl. You know what? Hey, if you ain't got nothing to lose, sod it. Let her rip. And Nora's a little quirky.
Yeah.
A little quirky, but you got to have some serious brass ones to, there y'all are, and you just turn to the one that,
Well, she didn't turn to it. She just said, Kelly just happened to be sitting there when she said it.
So
then we found out also it was merge time.
When they get that note, please bring all your personal belongings.
And of course, when they say please bring, they automatically know it's the merge. So they actually went to I believe the other tribe's beach.
Well, because Lyra's they're a little more ahead of the game. They're a little more better prepared.
Which centers extreme Volkai does better in challenges than Lyra does. Well, I think Lyra, I think they went to the Lyra beach. But, so they are merged. And of course, Kirshman is saying basically that she hasn't had really any food. Like, she hasn't been on a food challenge really in about 20 days at this point. And so they had the feast, and of course, right away they're like wondering, are they the old Volkai going to get back together? Because there's like 9 of them or something like that, and there's 4, I think, Lyra left, 4 or 5 Lyra left. So they're greatly outnumbered, and then some of them are saying, like I think Dean was saying, do I really want to go back to tribal lines, or do I want to go with my new friends?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that going on, and they're thinking, Volkai was thinking, because, there's 7 of them, 7 to something like that. Anyway, and they're talking about bringing Janet and Kelly with them to make them 9.
Yeah, and call it Volkai 2.0.
And they're saying, why would we do that? Because then we end up being on the bottom of the bigger alliance.
Yeah,
like we'll just stick with kind of
with who we're running
our
with.
original alliance, basically. So, you know, I think initially they were going to target Missy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, kind of like we were saying with Kelly, she a very good player. She's able to manipulate and
Yeah.
able to get people to do things,
Oh,
you know.
for sure, for sure.
But then
Missy and Kelly started bonding over.
with Kelly.
That's just what I said.
Oh, you said Missy and Elizabeth.
And so they
We're
start
bonding over their experiences with Dan.
Dan. Now, Dan's had a lot of inappropriate behavior
From day one.
from day one.
Like,
And-
if you guys remember, I think it was the very first episode. I think it was Elizabeth, when they were in the shelter and they were sleeping, and he basically, he doesn't know her very well. He's sleeping and he has his arm around her and kind of had it around her, midsection, if not her thigh area. And it did make her uncomfortable. I remember that. Maybe you guys remember her saying that. And that was not the only time that Dan made some of these women uncomfortable, intentionally or not. I mean, he may not have been doing it intentionally. It just might be that kind of a person.
Yeah.
And they didn't say anything. I'll give them this. They didn't say anything to him, except Kelly.
Mhm.
Kelly is the person who doesn't like to be touched. And he has, I think, more than once touched her hair. And she actually will pull away. And she says, don't touch me. I don't like that.
Yeah.
And has walked away. And he basically followed her. And that's basically the catalyst for what happened next. Because she was talking about washing her hair. And he's like, oh, like this. And so she's like, don't touch me. And she walked away. So it really upset her that he just doesn't seem to listen to when people have talked about their personal boundaries. So she was crying to Elizabeth and Missy about it. And they shared their stories of him basically kind of being inappropriate with them. With the merge, Elizabeth said she's glad that Janet was back because it kind of keeps Dan in check.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Well, Janet's kind of like the mama bear to the girls.
And she's not afraid to confront. Like, I don't know why they didn't say anything to him, except Kelly. But Janet's not afraid to say anything.
No. No.
So
she's not.
Kelly was crying, and the other girls were too, to Janet about this, and he's making them uncomfortable. In fact, Kelly even had a conversation with, like, to the camera, where the producers talk to her and saying, if you're uncomfortable, say something and we will have a talk with him and we'll put a stop to it. And she was kind of like, oh, I don't know. Now, that, contrary to what people believe, that actually is fairly normal behavior in this kind of situation because you don't want to jeopardize your game. Same thing with a work situation. You don't want to jeopardize your work. You know, friendships, all that kind of stuff, because it's not something a lot of people really want to confront that is happening.
Well, because it's a touchy subject, and it's perception based.
Right.
You may
some it's not so much, but in this kind of instance, it is.
You know what one might have thought as, not being inappropriate.
Right.
Another one would feel that,
Right.
you know.
Some might be okay with it, and others don't touch me. That's inappropriate. But and the thing is, I guess, and he may not have been meaning to be that way. We'll make that clear. But that's their perception of it. And so, like, I think, like they say later on, perception is their reality.
Exactly.
So that's how they feel. They have every right to feel that way, whether the intent is like that or not. That's how they felt. You know, it would be the same thing if a guy felt that way. Because there have been instances guys have been in a similar situation, with other guys or women, or they have felt uncomfortable, but they may not have felt like they could say it either.
Exactly.
And anybody should have the right to say it. So Janet decides, because they're initially going to vote for Missy, and then some of them want to vote for Kelly, to vote Dan. Because even though she's working with him, she thinks she wants to protect the girls, that she doesn't want them to feel uncomfortable.
Enough's enough.
And apparently, the producers did have a meeting with them. We didn't get to see it, but off camera, they had a meeting with them about behavior and inappropriateness, and then they privately spoke to Dan, too. So I don't see how he could not know that this was going on when they directly spoke to him about this, but he seems to think later on that
he seemed
he's like
oblivious.
taken by surprise.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's possible, but
And
it
that,
was.
I commend CBS for taking, as soon as the girl said, okay, he needs to be talked to, let's get this dealt with. They dealt with it.
They
right
dealt
away.
with it right away. So
right
that's
away.
good.
So I commend them on that.
But then the girls start backtracking.
Yeah.
And like this basically happened after they start backtracking. And they I guess because I think Janet talked to him about it, Dan. And this actually that happened after the votes, but they went to the first vote, tribal council. And
you just jumped over the immunity challenge.
Oh, sorry.
This was their first divisional immunity. They basically had it's almost like a wheelbarrow shape.
Kinda.
And they had a board with 3 balls. And you had to maintain the position. If you lowered it, it would lock into place. Now, under each ball was a peg. The lower it went, the farther the peg would get pushed up, the ball would drop. As long as you still had 1 ball on your board, you were still in the game. But it's because it's awkward, you're bent over. People started dropping like flies.
Didn't take long.
No.
In fact, I think the whole challenge lasted about half an hour.
Yeah.
And it came down to Jamal and Adam.
The 2 dudes, they hung tough, and and I will give Jamal credit. He doesn't look like he's the most physically in shape fella. He's a big boy.
Big guy.
But he hung tough with Adam. Adam's like a personal trainer. He's, shredded to all get him. And it came down to Jamal. Jamal, he just couldn't do it anymore.
Adam ended up winning.
And he's like, are you sure? Are you sure?
I'm good. Am I good?
I'm good.
So Adam won.
Now.
So at this point, it seems to be shifting away from Missy. And they're talking about Kelly because of what had happened with Jamal, with her, or with Jack, getting them to get rid of Jack and all that sort of thing. So they're kind of split. Some of them wanted to get rid of Kelly, and then splitting the vote because they don't know if somebody has an idol. Mm-hmm. So they want some of them to kind of split it, or but Kelly seems to end up being the target. The other half, Jamal and Janet, Nora,
want to do Dan
simply because of what's happened.
Yeah.
And Janet tries to get the girls on board with this.
Yeah.
Elizabeth thinks Janet's lying to her, that the target's actually Missy. And even though they've had a conversation about Dan and her saying she's willing to do what it takes to make them feel comfortable, so I'm not really sure. She hasn't had a problem with Janet before lying to her, so I'm not sure why all of a sudden she does.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense to me. But she doesn't believe her anyway. And so they're going to try to counter with voting out Kelly. They go to tribal. Now, Kelly is suspicious that it could be her, and she goes, now remember, she already has an immunity idol. She goes looking, and she finds the second one. Now she has 2 immunity idols.
Remember this.
So, she is feeling
one.
Janet, that's later on. She found one later on. After those tribal counts, she found one. But, she does feel uneasy, that she could be a target.
Mm-hmm.
But they make her feel she's safe, so she doesn't use it, either one. And lo and behold, Kelly's one who got voted out. With 2 idols in her pocket. And she's like, I don't want to have to leave. Find a way to leave. Well, then use it.
Yeah. Don't
leave it in your pocket.
If you even had an inkling.
Even if you have an inkling, use it. Oh my gosh. But anyway, she's on the jury.
Yeah.
So of course, Janet feels blindsided
Oh.
because she put her game at risk
Yep.
to help these girls feel comfortable. She confronts them, and she actually talks to Dan and tells him why she did this. This is
Yeah.
what the girls told me, and this is why. It doesn't really have anything to do with the game. I was trying to protect them and make them feel better. He seems blindsided by this. Now remember, producers had a private talk with him about this, so I really don't see how he's blindsided in this.
And pros talked to him at Tribal.
Later on, the second Tribal. So, and then, so she says, this is what they said. Later on, he talks to Missy and Liz. They deny it. They say, oh, we didn't say that.
Oh,
No,
not
we didn't
us,
say
not
anything of
us."
the sort. You know, more or less trying to put the blame that Janet's doing all this
Yeah,
to try
she's spinning
to
it.
spinning it. And so, again, he talks to Janet and tells her that they deny it. Now, obviously, that makes Janet upset. She wants to confront them right then and there. And he goes, no.
Wait.
Why not, Dan? Why don't you want her to confront them right then and there?
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
I would. So she goes and gets the girls right in front of Dan. Did you not say that to me? That he was making you uncomfortable? That, you know,
Yeah.
all that. So Missy didn't really say anything. Liz said, yes, she did tell Janet that. Janet goes, see?
Yeah.
This is what I've been saying. So Janet leaves. So she feels now kind of an outcast because she tried to do something to help these girls, and they basically
And you threw me under the bus.
threw her under the bus. So then Liz like, we're good, Dan, we're good, you know, and because he felt bad and he apologized, like, you know, I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. It wasn't anything inappropriate, and how, you know, I'm sorry, you know, let me know. But of course they backtrack.
Oh, of course.
No, it's good. Watch the tape back, Dan. You'll see how they actually acted right from day one.
Oh,
Then you'll see what they really were thinking. So we all saw it. So it kind of went back and forth. So second tribal council comes up, and now they're talking. The bigger group is talking either Karishma, Janet now, and or Jamal.
Yeah,
because they're all on the other side. Janet goes and finds an immunity idol. Dean, I believe, goes to her and says, "It's not you. Don't worry about it." But she doesn't believe him. I don't blame her. But he is telling her the truth. He tells her they're going to split the vote from Jamal and Karishma because they don't know if one of them has an idol or not. But she doesn't believe it. I don't really blame her, really.
You got smoked once.
Especially after what had just happened.
Yeah, so.
I go to tribe. Oh, that's the next second immunity
But
challenge.
Before that happened, Karishma and Jamal were talking about what our game plan is. And they find this parchment hanging in the tree.
Actually, Karishma spotted it.
Karishma spotted it, but Jamal grabs it. He sent to Island of the Idols
to see Rob and Sandra.
So the lesson was about sabotage, and Rob goes,
not everything
is what it seems.
What it seems, and some things are too good to be true. He lost his vote as soon as he took the parchment.
Because he didn't read all of it.
Right.
He just saw go to the island.
As soon as he took it,
yeah,
he lost his vote.
Yeah, as soon as he touched the darn thing, but he goes. They said, "Okay, you learned about sabotage. Could you do this to someone else?"
Right. So he was given a piece of paper, parchment paper, and a pencil.
Yeah.
To write whatever on it, some kind of advantage, sabotage, whatever. Now we couldn't really read what it was, but he ended up giving it to, I think Dean. But I couldn't read. I don't know if it's but what he actually gave him.
It was
legacy. It was an advantage.
Legacy something, and there wasn't a good camera angle on it.
Plus, it was really long, and they didn't really show it very much. And I don't think they actually said what it was.
No.
Not that I remember hearing.
And so he spun it that it was a 50-50 game that he played, and that
he won. That he could control somebody's advantage.
So he did it as a olive branch.
But we can see what it was written on the purchase.
But they weren't buying it. They weren't buying it. First off, they're like, "Where'd you get a pencil from? Where did you get this?" So, like you were saying, they go to the next immunity challenge, and this time it's 2 people are safe.
1 man, 1 woman.
1 man, 1 woman, and this time Probst is involved. They're like all hanging over the water.
Off these ropes.
Yeah, like a ski rope, like a water ski rope on like rollers. And every so often, Jeff will come over and spin this wheel and so click him.
They're further out on the water.
And that didn't take long either.
No, well, that's really difficult to do. Your arms are just going to start to shake and give out. And so it ended up coming down to Adam again for the men and Missy for the women. They won immunity. So then, the controversial, where all this thing about Dan, inappropriate behavior and all that came up in Tribal. And again, he's kind of acting like this is news to him, which I find really bizarre at this point. And they're all talking about it. Jamal actually brought up some very good points. I must say, I applaud what he said. He's very insightful.
He spoke eloquently about it.
Yeah, he did. And because the other guys like Adam were saying, well, nobody said anything to us. Like, so they didn't really quite believe what Janet had said. They thought she was playing them because the girls didn't come to them.
Yeah.
Or they didn't hear anything about it, that they talked to Janet, another female. Well, that's not unusual. No. That if, say a woman feels either violated that way or touched inappropriately or whatever, that they're going to go to another female to talk. They're going to feel more comfortable with a woman. And she's kind of like you were saying, like the mother figure there. They're not going to go to a guy, because sometimes they're not believed.
Yeah.
And them doing this, not going to help matters,
exactly.
But,
absolutely.
So he's saying all about that. And I like what Jamal said. He goes, no. Just think about this. He goes, just because we're men doesn't give us the right to know everything. He goes, they're going to go to somebody, I'm paraphrasing what he said, they're going to feel more comfortable with, and that probably is going to be another woman.
Yes.
And it's a private thing. If they're ready to talk to us about it, that's something else, and you have to respect that. They felt comfortable talking to Janet. It's not up to Janet to tell us, it's up to them when they're ready to. And obviously they weren't. Yeah. They hid it. They said it was Janet's making the whole thing up.
Yeah.
That's not actually uncommon, believe it or not, because that's just how it is. It's very private, very personal kind of thing. And so he went, but it was very, very wild. I really liked what he said, and it's very true.
Probst wasn't going to let this go.
Well, because Dan kept saying, because Jeff asked him pointed questions, and we're not going to let this go. And Jeff said, and I like what Jeff said. No, he goes, I'll never let this go.
We'll sit here till like day 39.
Yeah, because it's too important.
Yeah, we need to deal with it. He kind of did this, pardon my language, this half-assed blanket apology to anyone that he
never made uncomfortable.
Janet was shook to her core, and she said because of all this, she feels like she doesn't want to be here.
But they convinced her. They said, no, we absolutely want you here. Because really what she did is important for anybody, for males or females, to stand up for others who may have felt inappropriate. Yeah. Whether the intention or not, that's the perceive. And actually, I believe what, I forget, I think it's Lauren, I think her name is, said, that even if that's not his intent, that's how it was perceived. So perception is reality. That's how she felt. No, so I think it was Karishma who said it. That's how she felt. Yeah. And that shouldn't be discounted because, in any case, there happened instances where it was completely inappropriate, not necessarily with Dan, but with other cases, so they shouldn't feel that they can't talk to somebody about it,
So it came down to the vote. Jeff asked.
Janet used her.
Well, because she
wasn't sure. Good.
She wasn't sure, and
that's what you do.
And she fired the gun, and she used it. So it did come out. 2 votes were for Janet.
Yeah, and ironically, Elizabeth and Missy.
Yeah,
the ones she was trying to protect.
Yeah. and so it went Karishma, Jamal, Janet, but
voted. Yeah.
Ultimately it was Jamal
Jamal who went home.
and he didn't say goodbye to nobody.
Nope.
He slung that bag over his shoulder and he booked, man. And Nora's like, what? Not even a goodbye?
Well, Nora didn't vote against him. She voted for Dan.
Sorry.
No, for Karishma, actually.
You know what? I'll be honest. I'd probably be the same way. Because I'd be so ticked off. I'm going to leave.
Well, because he was sure they had the votes.
Yeah.
Just like they were sure the first time they had the votes, but obviously people are lying to you.
So,
all in all, it was a really good episode. If you get the chance to watch it, we recommend you do, even just for that part. Like, even just talk about perceptions and how he didn't think he was doing anything wrong, and maybe that's not his intent. But, and how Melissa, or how Missy and Liz acted, they may not have felt comfortable admitting what had happened. Yeah. But that's exactly why a lot of women are not believed. Because they even if it happened and they feel it, they kind of change their story, even if people are supporting them.
Yeah.
You know, some of them kind of thing, and of course Kelly couldn't say it. She was sitting, they couldn't ask her, you know, they're not allowed to talk to the jury. So, but it was an important conversation to have, I think. And I applaud both Jamal and Janet, especially for standing up for them and standing up for what's right.
And for showing each side.
Right.
From the male perspective and the female perspective. And I think, guys, if you want to comment, what do you think about this? Please let us know in the comments below. We'd love to.
Do you think Dan did act inappropriately and he was just, he either wasn't aware of it, or you think he was aware of it? And this isn't the first, I don't think this is his first time acting this way. People don't just go and start doing it to strangers out of the blue. Or do you think he legitimately, it's innocent, he didn't, that's just who he is, and maybe the perception, they just perceived it that way. But remember, they have the right to perceive things that way. They don't know each other that well. So, would you do something like that? Like, you don't really know them that well, kind of thing. And not just because it's the era of the Me Too movement, but just because it's not necessarily
you don't know these people.
There's no need to be like that to people you don't know very well. You wouldn't go up the street and do it, so why are you doing it there?
Exactly.
So, but yeah, let us know what you thought and on this kind of thing. Well, thanks for watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, so every time we are on, so when we upload, every time Survivor is on. And we will see you next week. Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.